What's going on, fight fans? I'm going to be talking to you about UFC Vegas 99 in the Apex in Vegas. Another fight night, Saturday night edition of UFC. Just going to be going through the cards and starting with the prelims. With the early prelim headliner, we had Austin Lane versus against Rebellis de Spain, and this was just a preview of how the entire card was just going to be just pain, for this pain. I mean? Austin Lane pretty much just laid on Rebellis de Spain because Rebellis is pretty trash in grappling. Couldn't really be able to get up and do anything, especially on the feet, even though he's a bronze medalist in Taekwondo. It's pretty sad to see that, especially for a big guy with not much to be able to do on the feet. So shout out to Austin Lane for being Marab on this card. Moving on up the card, we had 3 straight WMMA fights, and fortunately enough, one of them was the only finish on the card because most of these fights went to decision. But we got a banger of a fight between John Matsumoto versus Brad Katona. In my opinion, was the fight of the night. These guys went to absolute war, completely hurting each other with almost every exchange that these guys were going with. I think Matsumoto got the better of it against Katona, but Katona was putting in some nice work, especially with the elbows in the first round. But Matsumoto really just mixed it up, especially with the kicks, going low and going to the body. So very good win for him, but awesome fight between these two guys. Moving on up the card, we had Asu Albamaya versus Mateus Nicolau, and this was very, very technical, tactical fight between these two guys. Very slow fight and build. In the first round, not much was doing between these two guys. In the second round, I think Nicolau started to really implement his game plan a lot better and started to mix in his shots, and especially trying to be able to take over and have that veteran experience over Asu. But Asu in the third round got the knockdown and really just took over in the grappling department against Matthews Nicolau. Moving on up the card, we had Darren Elkins versus Daniel Pineda, another fight that was pretty much gone to war. These two guys were just going at it. Daniel Pineda continually throwing up submissions to be, threaten Darren Elkins, and Darren Elkins just brings that type of fight, man. Every single fight that Darren Elkins is in, you know that what you're getting into. You're going to get some blood, some nasty cuts, and hell of a warrior type of fight between these two guys, and with Darren Elkins all the time, especially when he's on the card. You know what you get with him, and shout out to him for getting a nice win, and shout out to Daniel Pineda retiring. And moving on to pretty much the good feel-good story of the card, we had Cameron Smotherman versus Jake Hadley, coming in on 2.5 days notice, or 1.5 day notice, not having a UFC contract, makes weight, and just is able to go in there with Jake Hadley, who had huge odds and was a very big favorite, huge underdog in Smotherman, and dealing with a lot of eye pokes, illegal kicks to the junk and stuff like that. Very, very rigorous fight, but shout out to Cameron Smotherman getting his first win of his UFC career. Moving up the card, we had Charles Johnson versus Suma Dajir. And honestly, this was another kind of great, good technical, tactical fight between these two guys. I think Sumo had a lot more answers than a lot of people think that he had on the feet, especially with the kicks. The inside low kick was landing pretty easily against Charles Johnson, but Charles Johnson had a nice connection. I think especially in the second round when he hurt him, got him backed up to the cage, damn near put him away, but then Sumo just started threatening with submissions, and he did a lot of good work, especially in that third round. I think he definitely won that third round, especially threatening with a lot of chokes, especially the Darce choke, almost putting him down and really taking control of that third round. But it was a very, very good technical and tactical fight, and Charles Johnson gets the win. Maybe it could have been a robbery going to Sumo's way, but it was definitely a good fight, and another fight that went to decision on this card. Moving on up the card, we had the co-main event for Rob Font versus Kyler Phillips, and this looked like it was going to be another regular day at the office for Kyler Phillips, getting a nice and easy and controlled takedown in the first round. Gets to do what he always usually does. And then in the second round, the takedowns were not working. His gas tank started to be able to leak a lot more. Kyler Phillips was really, really shit on the feet. Rob Font then started to pressure him and press him a lot more, getting him backed up on the cage, and really utilized his boxing and distance very, very well. Landed a lot of good shots. And in the third round, Rob Font was pretty much just doing the same thing, just fending off the takedowns, really pressing Kyler Phillips really, really well. And while I did think that Phillips did land a few good shots here and there, that's really not his department and definitely is something that he really needs to work on a lot more because Jesus Christ, he looked really, really gassed and really, really lackluster on the feet. And he was another dude that was a very big dog on this, a very big favorite, on this card. And Rob Font, if you put some money on him, you definitely won a good chunk of money with him as an underdog. And moving on up the card for the main event, we had Anthony Hernandez versus Michel Pereira. And man, I thought this fight was definitely going to be heavily contested and a very close fight, especially with them being ranked, and especially how Michelle looks and how Anthony looks, and how both of their styles pretty much combine. With the powerhouse and with the heavy, really good stand up and a strong guy, and Michelle is, and Anthony Hernandez just being that freaking machine, just cardio and just mixing in the martial arts very, very well with the takedowns and the hands, and him really doing a lot of damage, especially with the ground and pound. But this fight just showed complete levels. In the first round, in the very first exchange, Michel Pereira throws a really nice teep kick right to the stomach, hurts Anthony Hernandez, but Michel doesn't really jump on him early when he really needed to. And if he did, he honestly could have got a finish, and he tried and he persevered through that. But Anthony Hernandez is he's just a marauder. He's just a machine. He's what Marab thinks he is. You know what I mean? He's one of those dudes. And after he got over, that hurt that he was going through with that teep kick, he just put an ass whooping on Michel Pereira. Clear levels. While Michel Pereira is very strong, technically wise, with wrestling and defending takedowns and mixing in the grappling and wrestling, Anthony Hernandez was just on another level. He showed that very, very well. And he did really, really well with the ground and pound, hurting Michel Pereira, not just to the face and with the elbows, but he, knees to the thigh, knees to the body, punches to the body. He really just ragdolled him the entire fight. They got the fifth round finish, which was really good for Anthony Hernandez in his career and how he's looking as of right now. He really, really did. Honestly, I really wanted to see him get that finish because he was really just dominating and doing whatever he really wanted to. I mean, Michel was a tired, gassed out dude. So it was really good to see Anthony Hernandez get that finish. He's ranked 13 in the middleweight division as of right now. And you look at the division and how it stacks up as of right now. At 12, you have Hamza, who's going to obviously fight Robert Whittaker. If Hamza gets that win, he's going to jump up right up in the rankings to potentially get that fight against Dricus, who is the champion as of right now. At 11, you have Jack Hermanson. Tied for 9, you have Paulo and Roman Dolidze. At 8, you have Brendan Allen. 7, you have Jaron Cannonier. 6, you have Marvin Vettori. All those dudes going against Anthony Hernandez as of right now, and how he looks with mixing in the martial arts with the grappling and the striking, how well he is as of right now. I think he could easily dominate Jack Hermanson. While Jack Hermanson is very crafty and very good and very skilled, he has no type of pop, so he's not going to be really much of a worry for Anthony Hernandez on the feet as much as he was compared to Michel Pereira. Roman Dolidze, I think, is not good at all. He got a fluke win over Kevin Holland. I think he can be able to beat him as well. Brendan Allen, I think, will be a challenge. Paulo Costa will be a challenge as well. Jared Cannonier is a tough man. Has a lot of grit and a lot of determination. He can be able to maybe somehow pull off a win, especially with the power that he has in his hands. I could be able to see that. Vettori has a tremendous chin, but talent-wise, skill-wise, he's not really that good. And compared to Anthony Hernandez, who can be able to push that type of pace that Marvin can push as well, I think Anthony is levels above him. But the top 5, I think, is pretty much just secured as of right now. I have Kyle Barajo, Nesordina Mavlov, Robert Whittaker, Adesanya, Strickland. I think that's probably later down the line. I would definitely want to see Anthony Hernandez get a win, probably against somebody like Roman Dolidze. I think it'd be a good matchup for him with maybe Cannonier or Brendan Allen. I think that would be very, very interesting. But I think he definitely has the advantage and definitely goes in the favorite in that fight. But really, really great performance from him. Really, really nice to see that from him. And also, I want to be able to talk about other MMA that happened today, which was the Francis Ngannou and Rene Ferreira fight that happened for PFL, the what they call the Battle of the Beast. I believe that's what it was called. And, nice win for Francis Ngannou. Gets a first round TKO on the ground with Rene Ferreira, who can't be able to do anything on the ground with the grappling exchanges. It wasn't really much to be able to highlight and really say much about it. The main card was pretty okay. Phil Hughes got a really nice win. Johnny Eblen did what he did against Fabian Edwards against their first fight. Even though I think Fabian Edwards looked pretty crisp on the feet, but I mean with the takedowns, Johnny Eblen is on another level. Chris Cyborg and Pacheco, they did their thing, as a woman MMA fight. It was actually pretty entertaining here and there, but for the most part, I think Chris Cyborg did what she needed to do. And Francis Ngannou, man, he is the name. He is the biggest attraction. I think he retired, I believe. I don't know if he actually officially retired. But he signed the contract and he only had one fight. He's already the PFL heavyweight champion. Got a pretty easy takedown against Renan. On the feet, it was not really much to do and to say because they just threw a couple of leg kicks and to keep a couple of shots here and there, but it wasn't really much. But shout out to Francis. He got the win. He got the win for his son, who tragically recently just passed away. So shout out to him and his team. If you're retired, he retired on top. As the heavyweight king and heavyweight champion, he can use that as his claim. In MMA, I probably won't ever go away at all. And yeah, he's making a lot of money. He's doing his thing with Riyadh and the Saudis and all that other stuff. So maybe he can still venture into boxing and have his name into big fights, even though he got knocked the fuck out by Anthony Joshua. But really nice bounce back win for him, and especially the situation with him and his family. So shout out to Francis and him to be able to get that nice dub for Kobe. Obviously, you guys like this video. If you like this video, right? Comment your opinions on the fight and the card that we saw today. We only got 2 finishes, bro. 2 finishes. A sub by Jocelyn Edwards. Shout out to her. And a nasty 5th round TKO for Anthony Hernandez. Every single fight besides that, I think there was like 10 fights on this card, was a decision. So, a few bangers, a few good technical fights. But other than that, it was pretty much a regular Apex UFC Fight Night card that we're accustomed to. And subscribe, man. Subscribe, guys, if you like this type of content, because again, I got this type of consistency that you guys fiend and want more of. I got that for you, baby. Thank you guys again for watching, and peace.